Good morning, everybody. If you can come in and have a seat, we're going to get started in about 30 seconds. About 30 seconds. Testing, testing. Can everybody hear me in the back? Everybody hear me? Yeah? No? How about now? Yeah. Okay. We're going to go ahead and start about 10 seconds. 10-second countdown. You ready, chap? Yep. Wow, they got quiet. They sure did. Good morning, everybody. We're here to recognize the best of the best for the fourth quarter of last year. And to start it off, we'll have our chaplain start us in prayer. Chap?
Let's go to God in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today and the people that we're going to recognize and honor. We thank you for that spirit of excellence that rests upon them. And also our agency, we thank you for the opportunities you give us to to be a blessing to our community as we serve and protect those that mean so much to you and to us. Thank you for your hand of protection that will continue to rest upon our law enforcement community up and down this Treasure Coast. And we thank you today for this occasion. And Lord, I am mindful this is a special day for a lot of us that have some Irish roots. So I just want to pray this Irish blessing. May there always be work for your hands to do. May your purse always hold a coin or two. May the sun always shine on your window pane. May a rainbow be certain to follow each rain. May the hand of a few friends always be near you, and may God fill your heart with gladness to cheer you. Aaron Gobrow, thank you.
Chap, I did recognize the green shirt. Well, good morning again. You know, we can't do this job without the help from our community, and we have two individuals that made a difference in our community. The first one, Yeshika Bellamy, is she here? Did she make it? No. The second one I know is here. Timothy Gibbs. Timothy, come on up front. You stand right in front of the star. On December 15, 2014, the Indian River County Sheriff's Office requested our assistance with diverting traffic off I-95 at Injurrell Road due to an overturned semi-tractor and diesel tanker. Mr. Timothy Gibbs is employed as a road ranger. However, that day, he was off duty and in his personal vehicle. He was notified by dispatch of the wreck in order to seek an alternative route home. Instead of avoiding the situation, Mr. Gibbs chose to assist by putting flares out and directing traffic. When Deputy Gisler arrived and other units arrived, Mr. Gibbs declined to leave and continued to assist us by replacing spent flares. It took approximately 3 hours before the interstate was reopened, and Mr. Gibbs was there the entire time. He stayed even though he was off duty and received no compensation whatsoever. His assistance and sacrifice enabled our deputies to complete a difficult task with fewer law enforcement personnel, freeing up deputies to answer other calls in service. Mr. Gibbs, thank you for your dedication and service to our community, and I want to give you the Make the Difference Award, and we appreciate your help. Next up, Department of Administration will be covered by Chief Wilson. Chief Wilson, you're up.
Good morning. From the Department of Administration, we are recognizing the Deputy of the Fourth Quarter, Phaedra Campbell. Faye? Deputy Campbell is a proactive school resource deputy who consistently makes high-quality arrests. She also promotes a positive relationship between the community and the sheriff's office. She has facilitated community partnerships with a major real estate development company, Tradition, and a major retailer, Walgreens. Deputy Campbell directs children caught on campus with drugs to diversion and other programs. She helps parents and students deal with behaviors that lead to drug abuse rather than simply making arrests for minor crimes. When necessary, Deputy Campbell fiercely protects the safety and educational environment. An example was when the high school dean brought the student to his office for dealing drugs. The student walked out of the office and told the dean that he was armed. Deputy Campbell fearlessly chased the suspect, who threw objects over a fence. She drew her weapon and took the suspect into custody. A later search revealed that the suspect had discarded a soft drink bottle full of MDMA, a fully functional .380 caliber semi-automatic pistol with a serial number that had been scratched off. In this case, the deputy also obtained a confession for the charges relating to the weapon and the drug possession. This is just one example of the work that is done not only by Faye, but other members of the school resource unit, and we're very proud of her accomplishments. Faye, thank you very much. Next up, Sergeant Bill Radke, Supervisor of the Year. Sergeant Bill Radke was nominated and received Supervisor of the first quarter of 2014. During that quarter, he supervised the school resource deputy booth out at the St. Lucie County Fair, which has a lot of contact with the public during the 10 days that the fair is open, and institutes good quality interaction with those people in attendance at the fair. Due to unavoidable circumstances, the NOPE program became devoid of presenters. Sergeant Radke and Deputy Chima located and trained new speakers for a new program. Thanks to them, the NOPE program in St. Lucie County is again available to all middle and high school students. Sergeant Radke is an asset to the SRD unit. He works on projects, interacts with school administrators, and mentors deputies diligently year-round. Sergeant Radke's focus is on the safety of the children and success of the school resource program. Many of his contributions are behind the scenes. Again, Bill is just an example of the leadership that we have in the school resource deputy unit. I attended their roll call the other day, and I pointed out to them that I sound like a broken record, but year after year after year, the school resource deputy staff works diligently to educate students, to keep our campuses safe. At the same time, we don't ever get complaints about the way that they do their job, and for the sheriff and I, that is a huge accomplishment. So Bill, thank you very much for the work that you do. Volunteer of the fourth quarter, Bruce Murray. Mr. Bruce Murray joined the COP program in April of 2014. He immediately hit the streets calling in suspicious activity, disabled vehicles, and roadway safety areas. The South Beach Group, District 9, did not have a group leader for their COP program. Mr. Murray stepped up and volunteered for this position. He has made contact with all of his members and has made sure that they are active in the program. Since joining the COP program, he has called 911 11 times, patrolled more than 1,500 miles, and volunteered over 1,200 hours. Mr. Murray is a vital asset to the community and the crime prevention unit and the agency. The sheriff and I and Major Thompson had the pleasure of attending the South Beach Homeowners Association meeting 3 or 4 weeks ago, and Mr. Murray was recognized there for his efforts and his commitment to the COP program, and he has really demonstrated himself as the backbone of the South Beach Association's crime prevention programs, and for that we greatly appreciate it, Mr. Murray.
And for that, we're working on a new car for him for South Beach, right?
Sure, Sheriff.
Not a new one, maybe a good used one, right?
Yes, sir. Next up, a commendation for Deputy Glenn Hoffman. Glenn? Deputy Glenn Hoffman is assigned to the Crime Prevention Unit. He manages the Citizens Observation Patrol, the COP and Park Patrol, COP Marine Unit, as well as interacts with 347 volunteers. Since October, Deputy Hoffman attended the following meetings: 19 COP meetings, 2 Marine COP meetings, 3 homeowner meetings, 3 neighborhood watch meetings, and twice he has conducted 1-week training programs for all of our new COP members. When the need arises, Deputy Hoffman conducts refresher driver and Marine tests for our COP members. In addition, Deputy Hoffman mentored Deputy Alex Viola, who is the newest member of the Crime Prevention Unit. Recently, Deputy Hoffman completed 2 security surveys for the school board and 4 commercial surveys for Goodwill Industries Corporate Security Management. Each business owner received an in-depth report that helps identify potential problems and offer sensible, cost-effective solutions. Deputy Hoffman attends the quarterly board meetings of the Florida Crime Prevention Association and also is a board member of that group. Glenn is truly dedicated to his mission in crime prevention, which is evident from the contacts that he had in the meetings that he attended. This past January, he also put in a lot of time at the St. Lucie County Fair, interacting with the folks that come to the fair and gather information from all the booths out there. So Glenn, we appreciate your commitment to crime prevention. Thank you very much. And staying with the crime prevention theme, unit citation for crime prevention: Sergeant Richard Zierkowski, Deputy Sal Anacido, Deputy Vinny Bonagura, Deputy Alex Viola, Deputy Gary Gonzalez, Deputy Glenn Hoffman, Deputy Dan Repole, Carolyn Dodge, Russ Cullum, and Walt Nygaard. Crime Prevention is a proactive unit. They conduct safety presentation for various organizations as well as mock robbery training for our local banks. They participate with numerous charity events such as Big Brothers Big Sisters Bowl for Kids' Sake, and on election days they ensure that no issues occur at the 70-plus voting precincts that fill in for unavailable poll deputies. The unit is responsible for the maintenance of our social media sites. Our Facebook page has over 11,000 followers and 1,108 followers on Twitter. They utilize the first call system to alert residents to various situations and suspicious persons, weather, and other community events. Since October 2014, the members of the unit attended the following meetings: 26 homeowner meetings, 12 night neighborhood watch meetings, 19 COP meetings, 6 county technical committee meetings, as well as monthly Crime Stoppers meetings and Seniors versus Crime program meetings. In addition, Deputies Bonagura and Repole are responsible for manning the tag offices at the Driver's Office Bureau, while Deputy Anacido runs the Explorer Post, which includes the Explorer meetings and details such as the Navy SEAL Museum, the SS School Resource, Christmas Wrapping, and Feed the Hungry, etc. Again, the work that crime prevention does for the Sheriff's Office is incredible, and they keep us in a very good light at all times in our community. So for the Crime Prevention Unit, thank you very much. Next up would be Major Ty, the Department of Detention.
Good morning. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I wore green today, as you can see. The first award is for Detention Deputy of the Quarter, Deputy Carlos Batanzas. Come on up, Carlos. Deputy Batanzas has been a member of our office and the Department of Detention since October 2006. Deputy Batanzas has been nominated 6 times for Deputy of the Quarter, not only by his supervisors, but also by his peers. Today, he is being recognized as the Detention Deputy of the Quarter. Deputy Batanzas serves as our primary central control deputy on the night shift. Having been on the night shift for over 8 years, Deputy Batanzas is very familiar with every operational post. This gives his supervisors the flexibility of having a highly trained deputy wherever they need him. While conducting his day-to-day duties, he pays close attention to his surroundings and is constantly on the lookout for potential dangers to staff as well as the inmate population. Deputy Patenzis demonstrated his leadership abilities throughout last year by training 4 deputies in the proper operation of central control, which is not an easy task. He volunteers wherever there is need, and you can find him supervising a wing, translating and booking, assisting all pods, supervising food services, etc. Deputy Patenzis continues to set the standard of professionalism and dedication within detention. Thank you, Carlos, for a job well done. Detention Deputy of the Year, Deputy David Thiessen. Deputy Thiessen was a 20-year member of the Broward Sheriff's Office before joining the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office in 2004. Deputy Thiessen has a passion for education. For the past 4 years, he has been assigned to the adult education classes at the jail. During this time, 120 students, or inmates, have graduated from the adult education program. Deputy Thiessen has encouraged them to work hard in their classes and apply themselves. He assists the teachers by providing a positive role model and by guiding the students in positive directions. His words of encouragement have inspired dozens of students. Kim Taylor, the lead adult education instructor from Indian River State College, had this to say about Deputy Thiessen. Quote, "I do not hesitate to endorse the effort and integrity of Deputy Thiessen. In addition to providing security of the classroom, he is an integral part of the student's success. Under his leadership, I have been able to teach in an environment that is orderly and conducive to learning. He has a rare quality of mixing discipline with old-fashioned common sense. A chastised student will not learn, an enlightened one will," unquote. In his spare time, Deputy Thiessen, now in his mid-70s, enjoys running marathons. On and off duty, Deputy Thiessen always leads by example. Congratulations, Dave. Civilian of the Year, Kathy Archambault. Kathy Archambault started her career with our agency in October 2007. She is assigned to the classification unit as a population control specialist. She analyzes the status of inmates, monitors their length of stay, and evaluates their legitimacy within the criminal justice system, which ultimately has them released or transferred from our custody. This process has saved the detention budget countless dollars and saved taxpayers a lot of money. Kathy performs her work well above standard each day she is at work. Back in July 2014, Kathy received paperwork from the courthouse instructing her to drop charges on a violent inmate. It was her quick thinking and attention to detail that made her question and take a thorough look at the document she received. The document seemed to show the correct name, the charges, the case number. However, for some unknown reason, the courthouse clerk had entered a case number for a charge he was not in jail on. This could have resulted in an erroneous release of a violent inmate back to the street, but because of Kathy's extra attention to detail, the inmate remained incarcerated, waiting for trial. Thank you, Kathy, for a job well done. Life Saving Award, Sergeant Johnny Henry, Deputy Richard Beanie, Deputy Gerald Knight, and Deputy Cedric Sotomayor.
Butch still here? Butch still?
No, he's not here. It looks like Beanie's the only one that showed up.
Beanie.
You're always there. Always there. While serving paperwork in the Delta South Dorm 9, Deputy Gerald Knight called for assistance when he observed an inmate in his cell with a bed sheet tied twisted around his neck. The inmate was sitting on the floor, crying and yelling words in Spanish as he continued to tighten the sheet around his neck. Deputy Cedric Sotomayor and Richard Beanie responded. They immediately made several attempts to remove the sheet around the neck. Sergeant Henry cut the sheet loose using a J-hook. The inmate was escorted to medical and placed on suicide operation. The immediate attention taken by all prevented the inmate from harming himself. Thank you all for a job well done. Commendation, Deputy Robert Mason, Deputy Alan Picaro, Deputy Stephen Pisaris, Deputy Joanna Santa Maria, and Deputy David Streeter. Recently in Delta East, Deputy Streeter had been investigating a possible assault in Dorm 8. The inmate did not speak English. He rather spoke Spanish. Deputy Santa Maria, who was working in Delta West, came to Deputy Streeter's aid for translation. Deputy Santa Maria took the time to translate all pertinent information for outside criminal charges for the road patrol deputy who responded. Deputy Pasaris played a key role in speaking to, getting information from, and convincing the witness to come forward and write a statement, despite the victim's apprehension and fear of retaliation to charge the perpetrators criminally. During the investigation, Deputies Picaro and Mason handled the duties in the 180 manned housing unit. Congratulations, gentlemen. Another commendation, Deputy Robert Mason. You've been a busy guy. Deputy Mason had to remove an inmate from his cell and put him into the security enclosure. Prior to putting the inmate into the security enclosure, Deputy Mason searched the inmate. During the search, he found a rolled-up sock in the inmate's underpants. The sock contained various pieces of tattooing equipment, including 2 pieces of spring steel that had been formed into cutting blades. The inmate was strip searched for more contraband and knife blades. No other contraband was found. Deputy Mason then went to the inmate's cell and searched the inmate's bin and found his tattoo gun, spare needles, and his ink-making materials. Thank you for taking that extra step and searching everything, Deputy Mason. Congratulations. Another commendation, Deputy Matthew Wright. Deputy Matthew Wright, while assigned to the medical unit, noticed the 15-minute observation log was outdated and did not work with our present needs. Deputy Wright researched the data pertaining to the needs and requirements in order to update the form. He formatted a new log and presented it to his supervisors. After a review, his changes were approved and a new 15-minute observation log was created and is now in use in the facility. Thank you for going above and beyond, Deputy Wright. I have a unit citation, day 1 booking. Sergeant Deborah Flory, Master Deputy Sharice Nixon, Deputy Scott Holshauser, Alicia Suter, Wayne Wiesman, civilians Patricia Christopher, and Nurse Joanne Gilchrist. On November 29, 2014, an unusual incident took place in the booking area with the arrival of out-of-state inmates via a transport van. These inmates explained to the on-duty nurse, Joanne Gilchrist, that 2 inmates on their bus were required to wear medical masks. Now, with all the Ebola and TB and everything going around, when somebody's supposed to be wearing a mask and they're not, that's kind of dangerous, especially bringing them into a facility with 1,300 inmates. No paperwork or medical information was sent with these inmates explaining why the precautions were taken. Sergeant Deborah Flory immediately closed the booking area and advised Central Control that the area was quarantined. Calls had to be made to several jails across the country and the transportation agency regarding the conditions of the 2 inmates. It was determined that the condition of these inmates was not as terrible as first perceived. This incident allowed staff to test our emergency response to this situation. The booking staff, who were also quarantined, were calm and professional throughout the 4-hour ordeal. The unit controlled the possible threat of an undetermined medical exposure, which could have affected our staff as well as the other inmates throughout the jail. The quick thinking of Nurse Joanne Gilchrist was very instrumental. Thank you all for doing a great job. Okay, now you're going to have to bear with me. It's a unit citation for Day 2 squad, so bear with me. Lieutenant Ronald Palick, Sergeant Izell Cooper, Sergeant Lynn Esposito Knight, Deputies Wayne Anderson, Antonio Orbona, Joseph Batiste, Richard Beanie, Evelyn Briglia, Sante Briglia, Jose Canales, Christopher Cruz, Bernard Cummingham, Rui Dutra, Jeffrey Feliciano, Thomas Hendrick, Shazam Hussein, Matthew Isles, Ronnie Jenkins, Sergeant Jason Wheeler, Sergeant Johnny Henry, Scott Kaler, Mark Kicklighter, Derek Knutson, Clifford Lamb, Neil Letman, Jason Leiter, Nancy Mason, Robert Mason, again, Richard Medina, John Milford, Shamika Moss, Dwayne Newton, Veronica O'Brien, Stephen Paceris, Alan Picaro, Kimberly Queen, Pete Rich, Joshua Roberts, Joseph Shin, Sandra Shin, Cedric Sotomayor, David Streeter, Sheila Taylor, Anthony Vallone, Michael Vasquez, Peggy Wesley, Rosa Winston, Robert Wise, Corey Wood, Jenny Wren, and Richard Young. Thank you.
Who's running the jail?
That seems like a lot of people, but that's only, that's very few to watch 1,350 inmates. I mean, that isn't very many, to tell you the truth. Sergeant Wheeler was assigned to Day 2 for training December 1st, 2014. During this time, he observed the deputies going above and beyond their daily tasks. These shift members maintain the care, custody, and control of 600-plus inmates on a daily basis. The A1 pod has the most movement in the jail, and it can be quite challenging. These inmates are our workforce, and though they complete daily jobs for us, we must still enforce rules and regulations. Separating inmates in classification and dealing with inmates is very important. This shift has set the bar in this area by immediately addressing situations and concerns. The members of this shift work together to keep their areas clean, quiet, and running smooth. In addition, the competence and camaraderie are the strong foundation to this shift's professionalism and willingness to go the extra mile. Congratulations, and thank you for your teamwork. Thank you.
I need Robert Mason to give his longevity award. I'm going to give him his longevity award. Is there anyone else on
No.
the list that's here? You sure? Bob missed our longevity dinner, so I'm presenting him his 10-year outstanding service plaque.
Next, let me introduce Major Thompson from Law Enforcement.
Good morning, everybody. The distinct pleasure of bringing the civilian of the fourth quarter up, Janai Vasquez. Janai, if you'd come forward. Janai's been with the Sheriff's Office since 2011, and she's assigned as a crime scene investigator. This quarter, she followed up on 24 cases. In addition, she's assisted deputies, detectives, and other unit personnel. A highlight of Janai's performance occurred while working a marijuana grow house investigation with our SIU members. No, it was not at her house. Janai spent hours processing the scene for any latent prints. Once the scene was processed, she began going through it and determined if she could find any evidence that came from inside the house that linked the primary suspect to the grow house. Within 2 days, she had processed over 100 pieces of evidence. Janai was able to positively identify several latent fingerprints found inside the grow house belonging to the primary suspect. According to the SIU detectives, this was the first time they had a fingerprint from a grow house match their primary suspect. Janai Vasquez has a great attitude, and we appreciate all that she does. Thanks, Janai. Our Detective of the Year, or Law Enforcement Deputy of the Year, cannot be here because he has a medical illness, but that is Paul Taylor, so I just want to acknowledge that Paul Taylor is our Law Enforcement Deputy of the Year. Law Enforcement Supervisor of the fourth quarter, Sergeant Jeff Buchanan. Sorry, Jeff, I didn't recognize you. During the fourth quarter, Lieutenant Troy Church had to be away from work for an extended period of time. Sergeant Buchanan had a clear understanding of what Lieutenant Church was looking for and how things were going to be set up. Sergeant Buchanan handled everything flawlessly and kept Lieutenant Church apprised of his shift. Sergeant Buchanan ensured all administrative duties and paperwork were handled and dealt with personnel issues. In addition, the shift had a newly promoted sergeant on the team. Sergeant Buchanan took the time to train this new sergeant with the supervisory activities, such as use of forces, pursuits, injury reports, and such. Sergeant Buchanan even found time to complete his bachelor's degree in criminal justice during this time period. Because of Sergeant Buchanan's attention to detail, communication skills, and ability to get things done, Lieutenant Church's return to work as shift commander was almost effortless. And what Troy's saying is he just lets Jeff do everything now, too. So, no, just kidding. Good job, Jeff. Thank you. Our law enforcement supervisor of the third quarter, Lieutenant Kevin Dietrich. Lieutenant Dietrich is a hands-on watch commander. He's been called upon on several different occasions to act as the patrol operations commander. During this assignment, he is effective and efficient. Lieutenant Dietrich addresses all issues that arise in a timely manner and without hesitation. He will take on extra assignments and duties to assure the task is completed properly. Lieutenant Dietrich currently supervises the specialty components of patrol: aviation, traffic, marine, K-9, the reserves, and the field training program. He has identified issues and addressed problems and concerns within each unit. In addition, he had been tasked with organizing and supervising the newly created community response team known as STAR. The lieutenant instills a can-do attitude. Thank you, Lieutenant, for all your hard work. Our volunteers of the year, Richard Greenhall and John Casino. Richard, John, you here? Come on up. Where's your partner at? Accepting the award on behalf of. Richard and John are volunteers who work a minimum of 2 days a week in CID. Their duties consist of taking cases that have no leads or suspects, contacting the victims to see if there's any other information that they may have remembered or discovered. On several cases this past year, they located stolen property in pawn databases. These cases were then turned over to detective with much of the work already completed by our volunteers. Both Richard and John work as poll deputies for all the elections in our county. John also volunteers 1 day a week as a parking enforcement deputy. The work they do takes a tremendous load off the rest of the detectives. Thank you both for all you do.
When John came up and got his award, I told him I was going to double his pay. So thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Lori, if you do a PAF indicating that, appreciate that. This next award, or actually the next couple awards, demonstrate the how dangerous this line of work can actually be. I'd like to award the Combat Cross and Meritorious Service to Deputy Matt Brewster and Deputy Matt Dietrich. Come forward. On November 15, 2014, Deputy Brewster and Deputy Dietrich were patrolling the northwest section of Fort Pierce in a marked patrol car. This is an area where many shootings and violent crimes take place. At North 31st Street and Avenue E, the deputy saw the driver of a 2006 Toyota Scion commit a traffic violation. The driver with the passenger inside sped away as Deputy Dietrich radioed other deputies. Deputy Brewster activated his emergency lights and siren and pursued the Scion as Deputy Dietrich called the pursuit on the radio. The driver of the fleeing Scion ran stop signs, left the paved roadway several times, and was traveling at speeds up to 50 miles per hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. The Scion's driver clearly showed no regard for the safety of other motorists and pedestrians in the area. Several blocks later, the driver jumped out of the moving car, dropped a black pistol on the ground, grabbed it, and ran from the deputies who were chasing the suspect. The suspect ran across a shallow canal and then back into the backyard of an apartment complex. During this time, the suspect turned, pointed the gun at Deputy Brewster. Deputy Brewster fired in self-defense, striking the suspect 3 times. This disabled the suspect, and deputies arrested him moments later. Deputy Dietrich gave chase to the passenger, who fled on foot. The passenger was also secured and arrested after a short foot pursuit. Both deputies showed great bravery and skill as they as they drove in the pursuit of the fleeing vehicle, then pursued the suspects on foot and fired in self-defense after the suspect pointed a gun. So, gentlemen, thank you for what you do. We have another combat cross, again illustrating the dangers that our officers in both law enforcement and detention face every day. Combat cross, Deputy Matt Brewster and Deputy Nate Stubley. Did Nate make it? Okay, Matt, come on up. I know Deputy Stubley got tied up doing his job and protecting us, so he couldn't make it. On November 19th, Deputies Nate Stubley and Matt Dietrich were patrolling the northwest section of Fort Pierce in the area of Canal Terrace. What does it say? Yeah. They got the wrong names on the sheet. Look at that. Canal Terrace. This one is Deputy Matt Dietrich and Deputy Nate Stubley. They have Matt Brewster written on the top. Northwest section of the area of Canal Terrace, they saw a car making several traffic violations. The vehicle was occupied with 3 passengers. When the deputies got behind the vehicle, the driver slammed on his brakes in an attempt to get the deputies to hit him. Deputies Stubley and Dietrich attempted a traffic stop. However, the suspect vehicle rapidly sped away. They made multiple road and directional changes in an attempt to lose the deputies. At the intersection of North 14th Street and Delaware Avenue, the suspect unexpectedly stopped the vehicle. A passenger opened the door and fired 6 rounds at Deputy Stubley and Dietrich, who were still inside the patrol car. They were able to exit the patrol car and return fire, hitting the suspect vehicle. After the shooting occurred, the pursuit continued. After a short distance, the suspects were stopped. 2 of the 3 suspects were taken into custody. So again, thank you, and this again illustrates the dangers that our officers face every day. Is David Snow here? Deputy Snow here? Okay. Deputy Travis Bell and Deputy Eddie Lopez. Okay. Next award, I know this gentleman is here. Detective Ryan Register. Because Ryan's a sharp-dressed man, I knew that he was here. It's an Exceptional Duty Award. Detective Ryan Register has worked diversion cases for the last several years. Previously, it was handled by 2 detectives. Over the last year, Deputy Register was able to investigate and complete 167 cases. These cases are initiated from local pharmacies, physicians, and self-initiated work. Detective Register obtained 107 felony warrants on subjects for diversion-related crimes and numerous misdemeanor charges. Because of the man-hours it takes to complete most of these cases, it is easy to see the dedication and effort being made by Detective Register to bring these cases to a close. In addition, he assisted the SIU unit with a 4-month wire intercept investigation. His knowledge and investigative contacts with other diversion investigators was an asset to the investigation. Sergeant DeFonso received numerous compliments and accolades on Detective Register's professionalism and commitment to stopping prescription drug fraud. Ryan, thank you. This next award's a unit citation. It's for the STAR team, which is Sergeant Perot, Deputy Joe Bell, Deputy Matt Brewster, Deputy Daniel Campbell, Deputy Matt Dietrich, Deputy Charles Singletary, and Deputy Nate Stubley. Now what you'll notice is that our Combat Cross recipients, Deputy Dietrich and Deputy Brewster, are on the STAR team. And what the STAR team does is work in some of our most difficult areas and high crime areas. So they are constantly exposed to the dangers of the job. These members make up our STAR team. Their stats for the past 3 months are as follows: 2,438 citizens contacts, 1,065 traffic stops, 128 arrests, 8 guns recovered, $1,200 cash seized, and 1 car seized. The members of the team have assisted other units to include changing their work days as well as hours to augment where they are needed. As a result of their work product, they have identified and arrested key members of local gangs. This has led to a decrease in the number of shooting-related calls within the city to include homicides. The team has also endured and overcome 2 deputy-involved shooting incidents in less than 1 week apart, with little or no downtime in between. They work with several task forces over the 3 months with other agencies, including Blue Lightning, which is a smuggling operation that they deal with Homeland Security. These operations consist of both boat and land units intercepting suspect boats attempting to bring illegal drugs and individuals into the Treasure Coast. These are just a sampling of what they do, but I can tell you that their being on the street has made a significant difference in violent crime in the northwest section of Fort Pierce. So thank you very much. The unit citation for the crime scene unit. Who's going to take the pictures? The intern. Okay, good. Detective Young, Donna Carmichael, and Janai Vasquez. Where's Snoop? Okay. He'd rather go to the dentist. The crime scene unit is responsible for processing all evidence, taking all agency photographs, writing reports, assisting with video evidence, and reviewing latent fingerprints submitted by deputies. They respond to all shooting cases, including deputy-involved shootings, and use of force calls that could cause death or serious injury. The unit is called upon to assist other agencies. During this quarter, the unit completed 95 follow-up reports. In these reports, the investigators have to list everything they do during an investigation. They were responsible for taking photographs of all 687 employees in either their suit or Class A uniform. This had to be done in 3 separate locations. This meant they had to bring all equipment, backdrop lighting, cameras, etc., to each site and make arrangements with supervisors in these locations to secure a place for photographs. The task was completed while being short-staffed and along with their normal duties. This is just a brief synopsis of the responsibility they do every day, but they're truly where the rubber hits the road. They're the ones that link suspects to crimes when we don't have eyewitnesses. So thank you so much. Another unit citation, ILP, or Intelligence-Led Policing.
The smart ones. Where are they? No one's here.
Oh, Melissa's here. I can see her. Marie Brazos, Dina Ham, Amanda Rodriguez, and Melissa Sangster, last but not least. With rising crime rates, the Sheriff's Office had to look at an effective way to lower the crime rate and to make a county a safer place for our residents and visitors. In October of 2013, the office created the Intelligence-Led Policing Unit. This unit is comprised of 2 certified crime analysts and 2 crime analyst assistants. They identify suspects' crime patterns and provide information to our law enforcement officers. ILP starts every day by reading every report written by our deputies. They identify crime trends in our county, surrounding counties, and the state. If they find similarities in crime, they review different sources in an attempt to develop possible suspects. They work closely with our detectives to locate possible suspects who live in the area of the crime or someone who has been arrested in the past for similar cases. They are responsible for creating a daily hot sheet. The hot sheet depicts the recent reported generated in each zone. They create all photo lineups. They analyze approximately 100 emails daily and send out the required BOLOs from those emails. These BOLOs range from wanted person crimes occurring and officer safety. Since the ILP unit was created, the following crimes are down. Burglaries 37%, property crimes 17%, major person crimes 27%, and murders 71%. The ILP has a very successful year. If it wasn't for ILP, several of the cases that were solved, we would have never known who the suspects were. Through their digging and tenacity, they're able to identify people and give the detectives the information which allows them to make arrests on the cases. So thank you very much, girls. Unit Citation, Evidence Unit. Don Radke, Bridget Conklin, and Renee Deerdorf. Is Bridget here? She go to the dentist with Snoopy? Okay. The Evidence Unit is responsible for securing all evidence turned into our office. Because of the increased workload within the unit, an additional person was added in 2014. There are 4 different locations where evidence is stored. These ladies are responsible for scheduling appointments with the public to pick up released property and delivering evidence to our crime lab for processing. Last year, 7,503 pieces of evidence was turned into the unit. You'd think they're hoarders. In addition, they maintain evidence from cases from previous years, which is required by state law and court proceedings. These women were able to purge 6,029 pieces of evidence over the course of last year, and they have an additional 1,962 pieces of drug evidence waiting to be destroyed. Recently, the storage of firearms was changed over. Over 800 firearms had to be placed into individual boxes, and a new evidence sticker had to be printed and placed on each gun box along with evidence tape. Due to the quantity of boxes, we had to switch the drug and firearms rooms. This meant the firearms room had to have ventilation system installed before the drugs could be switched into this room. This was all coordinated by Don Radke. In addition, the unit moved to the OSSI system. This is our report writing system, which brought on new challenges, that says the least, doesn't it, girls, pertaining to evidentiary tracking. The staff quickly adapted to the new software and swiftly corrected any evidentiary items that were indicated as errors. Thank you all for the job you do day to day, and thank you for keeping track of all that property. Sheriff?
What a great bunch of recipients, huh? Phenomenal. Like every quarter, I like to share with you letters that I received. This is a small list of a group that I received just in the last couple weeks. I'll share a couple with you. The first one was an email that was sent to me. He says, I'm emailing you to express my sincere thanks to the Sheriff's Office. Yesterday around 2 p.m., I was in my electric wheelchair on Prima Vista when the battery died. Deputies Adam Dobrin, he's a reserve deputy, and Mark Swanson arrived on scene. They were very helpful and polite, and I was most appreciative of their service and assistance. I asked if I could put in writing so it would be placed in the personnel file, and this is what I've done. But thank you for a fine organization and fine deputies coming to my help. So that's one email I received. Next one is a little bit more involved. It's a letter from John O'Neill. He's the owner of a new pawn shop in Port St. Lucie. Dear Sheriff, I had the pleasure of working with Detective Hendricks as our pawn detective since we opened nearly a year ago. Since that time, we have been treated with respect and professionalism while she has conducted her routine investigations. She has been fair but diligent while conducting her business. On October 16, 2014, my store was victim of a theft of over $5,000 by 2 women from Miami. At the time, the only information we had was video surveillance. The Sheriff's Office was notified and Detective Hendricks picked up the case. Having prior law enforcement experience, I had little expectations of this case being solved with the information we had at the time. Detective Hendricks impressed me from the moment she took over the case. Several times per week, she was in contact with me, providing me with information as to her progress on the case. This contact reassured me that the case was being handled with a sense of urgency. Within 48 hours, Detective Hendricks had her first lead. As you can imagine, we were all very pleased. Less than 2 weeks later, she came to the store with a photo lineup. We were able to identify both suspects from the photos, which enabled Detective Hendricks to get warrants for their arrests. Today, I am pleased to say that the main suspect is in custody. My intent of this letter is to make sure that you, Detective Hendricks, and her immediate supervisors are aware of her outstanding performance. While I am aware that the Sheriff's Office responsibilities are to investigate crimes, I also am aware that resources are limited and caseloads become ever challenging. You and your department are faced with more and more challenges daily, and at times your jobs can seem thankless. Most importantly, I want to truly thank Detective Hendricks for her superior police work, and without that, this case would have gone unsolved. Furthermore, her customer service, which is a huge part of police work, is second to none. Detective Hendricks represents the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office with great professionalism, and you as sheriff should be proud. As always, I support you and the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office with respect, John O'Neill. Well, that, she left an impression, wouldn't you say? Awesome letter. Some of you might know this. Back in January, it was actually the first week in January, January 5th through 9th, the governor of Florida, Rick Scott, proclaimed Florida First Responder Appreciation Week. We actually received a letter from the governor thanking us for all of our service, but there was one letter that we received that week that I want to share with you. It's from the Leo Project, and it was dated January 8th. Dear Sheriff Mascara, all deputies, and other law enforcement personnel, I'm writing this brief note to you to express my deep gratitude and express my sincere appreciation for your service as law enforcement officers. My father is a retired law enforcement officer. He served and protected our community for decades. Like a war veteran, he rarely talked about his work. As an attorney, I know that human failings he has called to act upon and witness, domestic violence, murder, suicide, child and adult neglect have all played some role in his mind. He checked on the elderly to make sure they were okay. He checked on businesses at night to make sure they were secure. He was sent out in hurricanes and other local strife. All of this he did without complaint and without thanks. He loved going to work and loved being a police officer. It takes a strong and compassionate person to serve as a law enforcement officer, not to mention the job responsibilities I've already mentioned. You direct traffic in thunderstorms, you find lost children, you push broken down cars to the side of the road. All this you do without thanks. Your profession has been vilified in the news media lately. Your comrades were murdered. So as a small and inadequate it may be, I want to say thank you for all of you, for your compassion, your help, your dedication as law enforcement officers. Thank you for your service and your constant protection. It is truly a thankless job, but you do it anyway. And with that, Terry Bledsko, he's the president of the Law Enforcement Project in Longwood, Florida. Very nice letter. And last but not least, I'm always anxious to see who our deputies made the front page of the paper. And this happened to be December 31st, New Year's Eve of last year. I opened up the paper, and there's Ephraim Neal on the front page. And it says, your top stories for 2014. Now, first thing that came to my mind, Ephraim, is what did you do? But ironically, you were not listed in the top stories, just your picture. So come on up here. I want to give this to you. It's kind of a blessing to have the picture without a story, so that's all good, all right?
I would have called and let you know.
Yeah, you would have given me a heads up?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, boss, appreciate it.
Again, myself, the command staff can't thank you enough for what you do for us, the community. God bless you all. Stay safe. As you can see, this job is very, very dangerous. So stay safe, and we have drinks and snacks around the corner. Take care.